and welcome to Villain Squad, a interstitial podcast where we talk about the villainous organizations and the villainous characters in our D&D games. I am Mikey, and with me, as usual, is Mr. Daniel White. Say hello, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Thank you very much for saying hello.
Thank you for having me on the show and calling me Mr. Daniel White. I feel very introduced.
I know. We gotta make it, I'm hoping to put this on some sort of like demo reel for jobs, so I gotta make sure I sound professional.
Get on the RTE.
Yeah, just give this to RTE. Anyway.
Just, mail it right to Ryan Tuberty.
Yeah, I'll straight to him. I'll go to his
straight to the top.
Straight to the top, just throw it at him and say, here's Creature Club. He's like, I already know it. I listen to it every day.
I already listened. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we are doing Villain Squad. I am it is the day after Christmas Day, and I am just right now.
It's Boxing Day. We've all had a lot to eat. We've all eaten a lot of food that isn't good for us.
Boxing Day? You mean St. Stephen's Day, Daniel?
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know. I don't know what most of our audience is American. I don't know what they call it.
They probably call it Boxing Day, yeah. St. Stephen's Day is a...
Yeah, St. Stephen's Day is what we call it, yeah. Who was St. Stephen, anyway? What did he do?
He has a green in the middle of Dublin City. And that's all now.
Well, that's fair. I mean, if he made that all himself, fair play.
Fair play. He gets a day.
Yeah.
No, but we're doing a Villain Squad today where we kind of, brainstorm and devise and kind of talk about ideas for like a villain squad, for just a organization or just a league of baddies to have in your D&D game. And this week, Dan, what did we decide to go with?
We are going to develop a knightly order of enemies for your players.
Absolutely. An enemy knightly order, because there's
yes.
You can have plenty of nice ones. That's just plenty of good guys, plenty of heroic guys who are knights. But this time I was thinking maybe let's make some who are kind of either morally ambiguous to just a bit bad. So
bad to the bone.
Yeah. So let's where should we start with this one? What kind of what's a good jumping off point for a knightly order?
Well, I think if we're talking about the notion of the evil knight, probably the most sort of famous evil knight of Dungeons and Dragons, if it's not the Death Knights, who are sort of special because they get to be undead and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably the anti-paladin.
Yes.
So the anti-paladin exists as kind of the karmic opposite of the paladin. So back when D&D was first developed, paladins had to be lawful good, and therefore anti-paladins had to be chaotic evil. They were literally, they existed to be the opposite. Now, obviously, paladins can be kind of more varied, and so the notion of an anti-paladin could still exist, but it would probably be more of a term for like sort of describing someone's role rather than a specific class, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and with paladins in 5th edition, you have a lot of different kinds of oaths now available, where you have like an oath of conquest, and in Xanathar's Guide, stuff that's kind of more power based, where you, instead of like the typical like protection and all that, like a typically heroic thing to do if you're a paladin. So you can kind of, there's room for you to make a bit more of a, like, not a classic lawful good paladin, but kind of a morally ambiguous or baddie one. So
yeah, someone who hungers.
Yes.
The anti-paladin, by the way, was first introduced in Dragon Magazine 39 as an NPC class. This is something they used to do a lot. They used to make like NPC classes, so like they made a whole character progression, but they weren't made for your players. They're made for your like monsters, basically, to level up.
Yeah.
In the context of AD&D, they basically were a paladin in most ways. They had some interesting stuff where their lay on hands caused harm as opposed to healed. They were allowed to use poisons, which obviously the paladins weren't allowed to because they were honorable. They basically got like backstab. They got some thieves features to represent that they're kind of like shady and bad dudes. And then they don't have a code of conduct, which obviously a paladin has to have. Basically, anti-paladins can do whatever they want. And
do they turn into anti-paladins if they like fail their oath, or what's the story? How do they do that? Or are they just literally evil paladins?
So like the notion is really that like it's I'll tell you, I'll read out a bit of section from the book, so I think you'll enjoy this.
All right, let's hear it.
Recognizing an anti-paladin should be a fairly easy task for players. Perhaps it's his preference for black horse, black armor, black sword, or his grim skull-shaped keep raised in black basalt or gleaming obsidian, looming ominously against a grey brooding sky on some chilly windswept mountaintop. Maybe it's the company he keeps. brigands, thieves, assassins if they're human, orcs, ogres, hobgoblins, and trolls if they're not. Or it could be his low, nasty, blood-chilling laugh when he has the party in his clutches, the thin, black moustache, carefully waxed and curled, whose ends he twists as he considers the party's fate, or the gold-rimmed, carefully polished monocle, which abruptly starts from his eye when suddenly confronted by his nemesis, the paladin.
This sounds like the first chapter of like the opening paragraph of like a children's book about an anti-paladin who's kind of like a bad knight, but he's also kind of a goofy guy. But the way you read it just sounds like that kind of book, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's fair to say that the anti-paladin was very much introduced as kind of an almost like an exaggerated response to the paladin. Like,
yeah,
you know, this is someone you introduce because you want. You know, you very much want to introduce someone who's just sort of evil for their own sake.
Yeah.
So within the bounds of this, like basically stat block, there's no explanation for where they come from or why they're an anti-paladin. Just that they kind of are one. It just says that where the paladin is the champion of all that is good and lawful, the anti-paladin is the defender of the powers of chaos and evil. By nature, therefore, his alignment is always chaotic evil, without exception. And then it just lists all their powers, which is just kind of like the paladins, but naughty. So we can sort of start off by saying like the notion of the bad knight, the black knight, is sort of, you know, it's fairly morally unambiguous, at least in this context. Now, I've always preferred the black knight as, to use the context of Dungeons and Dragons, as a lawful evil villain. Someone who is definitely bad and against you, but has some kind of code that like allows the players to parlay with them or gives them some chance to have more of a meaningful interaction with them rather than just sort of, you know, slap each other's hit points from across the table.
Yeah. The kind of baddies that would, like, you know, if your sword fell and they disarmed you, they would want you to pick it back up again because they want to kill you in a proper fight, you know.
They would challenge you to a duel. They would like accept surrenders. They would accept offers to parlay, for example. So like the party can sue for peace effectively with the Black Knight.
Yeah.
But even still, the Black Knight is sort of, you know, committed entirely to their dark path. But they are like willing to let others speak before they do it.
Yeah, because they're still kind of knights as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. They still have their chivalric code, and I think that's kind of more interesting.
Yeah.
I think the anti-paladin has its place too, as just sort of like, you know, almost like Skull Kid from Majora's Mask, like just something that's chaotic and evil and destructive, and like you can't understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're just sort of acting, and it's against your interests, and you have to sort of deal with it.
Oh yeah. So going with an anti-paladin, that's kind of a what am I saying? As kind of a template, I guess, for the main guys in there. I'd say we need kind of some staples for this knightly order. You know what I mean? Kind of like maybe a signature kind of fighting style or weapon, maybe different kinds of mounts, or different ranks of knights, something like that. Maybe should we?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, because I'm thinking like bad boy knights, I really want them to ride motorcycles, but I don't think that's appropriate.
Please, let's ride motorcycles. I was actually thinking like they all have like there's different kinds of mounts, but I have this weird image in my head of like I don't know where it came from of like a mammoth mount for him. You know?
Do they all ride the one mammoth, or do they each have a mammoth?
Maybe they each have a mammoth because. Like it'd be kind of like just a bit bigger than an elephant, you know. That's kind of what the scale of it I'm thinking. But if there's bigger ones like olifants, then they can just all hop on that too.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, because what we could say is that this order of knights, why don't we call them, because we're thinking of elephants, why don't we call them the Blackened Tusks?
Ooh,
just to give them a name.
I was just good about to say that. It's a great name.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's say they're called the Blackened Tusks, and their sort of signature as such is that each fully, you know, enlisted or fully appointed knight has their own, you know, black mammoth.
Yeah.
Which is this massive mammoth with black fur, and like the Olifants, they're large enough that there is like entire camps on their back.
Okay.
And so wherever these knights go, they have all their retainers and a lot of their soldiers with them, their best men. So that they can kind of act in an instant, and they have this incredibly mobile fighting force that makes them very dangerous.
Yeah, this is a really cool idea, but they are knights, and why are like these just group of knights being like a chaotic force in like, you know, one's D&D setting really? Because I was thinking maybe are they a knightly force for a nation or some sort of like king or leader or something, or are they just kind of like a mercenary force who have their own chivalrous code but are kind of like going to fight for the highest bidder, or they're fighting for their own cause?
I would love them to be the knightly order of basically like an evil like empire, basically.
Yes.
I like the idea, like, you know, I like the idea in some ways that, like, so if you imagine, you know, do you remember that scene I think in Rogue One, where there's the town and the Star Destroyer like hovering right above it?
Okay, yeah.
And it's like a really great shot that sort of emphasizes how like the Empire has the city under their control.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking like a similar idea that like your players ride towards a town, and as they do, like on the outskirts of town, the mammoth is camped out. And there's like a camp of men around it, and like you can tell immediately like that like one of the Tusks is in town and is running the place at the moment.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they're kind of like basically like a sort of effectively like sort of a law enforcers. Like they're effectively a version of the police for this evil emperor. And like they have to do some awful heinous thing to get their title, and then after they do, like they can, you know, basically they have almost unlimited authority over like small holdings and things like that.
That's very cool. Yeah, that'll be a very fun motivation to just police force, I guess, this force forward evil empire. And it's fun imagery, because if you have a huge Oliphant just kind of coming in, like you see him in the distance, I kind of like this idea of this nation or whatever is in more of like a, because it's mammoths, I'm thinking of like an Arctic-y kind of terrain or like a mountainous terrain. Yeah. So you will see it coming through like the blizzard, you know, and you're like, they're coming. And then kind of like
the blizzard like parts and like this massive mammoth comes through, and like, you know, your party is just hollered at. Like there's like, you know, soldiers on the top of the mammoth like yelling at you to get out of the way and like throwing rocks at you.
Yeah.
And like if you don't clear, you get trampled. Like it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's like you can do the AT-AT scene on Hoth, but whatever. That's a different thing. It's cool. That's very cool. So the Blackened Tusks, do they have like a signature kind of weapon or fighting style? Maybe something to do with tusks, or is that a bit too on the nose? Like maybe they have like...
I was thinking it could be something to do with tusks. It could be like, I mean, in my head, I'm thinking like the thing that's most like tusks is like twin scimitars.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that? Is that too obvious, or is that kind of...
No, that's actually kind of cool. Like twin scimitars, like curved swords, maybe also like they have like big kind of javelin spears as well for like a ranged attack as well that they can throw down. At people. Maybe they have like literally made from like smaller mammoths, like from their tusks, as they're probably hard, that they could use like a really large one that can just drop down from the mammoths and just hit them, you know. Yeah. But like as a signature, like, you know, martial hand-to-hand weapon would be like, like two scimitars is cool. So
maybe they have specially designed scimitars that can also be thrown, so like they have a thrown weapon to hand at all times.
Oh yeah, okay, that's cool.
That'd be kind of interesting. But I think two scimitars, we're happy with that. That's cool.
Two scimitars is cool. It suits the elephant aesthetic, so that's absolutely awesome. So fighting style, mounts.
So so they fight with they fight with two swords. They have like the king's authority, but like if they show up, everyone has to obey what they say, and the only people who are above them are the king. I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's just kind of scary and makes them intimidating, and also kind of creates an interesting dynamic where maybe like you'll need them at some stage.
Yeah. Okay.
So they have this sort of authority over this kingdom they are part of, and they go around, they visit the towns, they keep the lords and dukes in line, make sure none of them have any plans against the emperor or empress, you know. It's 2019, almost 2020. And then they travel on these huge mammoths that they use as basically mobile camps that bring all of their closest retainers and warriors with them.
Yeah.
So they're always able to call their like army to hand effectively.
Yeah, very cool. Gives them a big advantage. You know, you can't really get the jump on these guys because they're always traveling together.
Yeah. Like, or, you know, if you do, it'll only be a matter of minutes before his backup shows up, and so you have to sort of finish this fight quickly.
Yes.
Or you'll probably lose because they have the numbers advantage.
And what do they fight for? Like, do they have personal, like not really personal goals, but like why are they knights? What kind of oath, I guess, would they kind of be with?
I think it's like an oath of control is sort of how if I was making it in rules, I'd call it the oath of control.
Okay, yeah.
And the idea would be like, you've sworn loyalty to something, and it is so like, again, we're kind of really strongly imposing that like lawful evil framework, right? like they're all about enforcing the king's authority. They act in the king's name, and like anyone who plots or opposes the king or even acts against the king's best interests is like, you know, liable to answer to them, basically.
Yeah.
So I think in many ways they are a sign of like sort of the rot of a kingdom, where like their oath is to the king and not to the people of the kingdom.
Yes.
So they are happy to let the people suffer, and like that's something that the players can like interpret as, this is a sign that the kingdom is corrupt, that the people in charge don't care about the people below them, and that the people in charge have specific like authority to enforce that, like they should be the only thing that matters in the kingdom.
Yeah.
And that's obviously like a great way, like, I mean, this is a great setup for like a Robin Hood game where the players become like noble outlaws and like can't visit town without putting it at risk, and have to like constantly camp on the outskirts of this like frozen Arctic, like, you know, tundra, and like they're constantly worrying about patrols or like being caught up by an elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they have to like, you know, and like the blizzard hides everything, so they don't even know if there's like enemies nearby and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of paranoia, and like, you know, they've got a small camp of people, but like they don't know if any of them are spies, and like, oh, it's good.
Yeah. And also they're pretty, because they're just like, they want to control, they want to keep the control. They make good, like, I guess just like stormtroopers, I guess, really, for your players, where they can just like they're just the baddies. These guys just want to, they don't care about the little guys, you know. There's not really, you know, you could have some room for like dramatic moral ambiguity, but also it's just like, no, they're just baddies though, you know.
You can have some of them be sympathetic and like, you know, enforce the rules, but understand how the rules are difficult, but still enforce them.
Yeah.
Who like believes the rules are there for a good reason and feels the need to enforce them. It's like, you could definitely have that. You could certainly have characters who like break the mold of like, you know, they let people speak their mind and stuff like that.
Break the mold. Only shooting stars. I forgot the lyric. I was trying like, what's the lyric before that shit? Because it's not going to make any sense if I just say that. I am so sorry. I did listen to you. Don't worry.
No, don't worry. It's a day of rest. Okay, so we've got this order of Black Knights. We've got their signature steed, their weapon of choice. So who runs this flippin' popsicle stand, and maybe who are their like cool underlings? Like, you know, I like the idea that there really aren't very many of these knights, that like each of them represents a significant portion of the king's power. Yeah. Like the obvious thing to do is to say there's 13 of them, because that's the bad number.
That's just like just a cool number to have for baddies.
It is, yeah, but I feel like 13 might be a lot in terms of, unless you wanted to set a whole campaign around it. Yeah. So maybe less is better, or, well, I guess it depends on the kind of game you're running. But why don't we focus on like building the leader of this group? Like, you know, who's the knight commander of the Blackened Tusks?
Yeah, well, probably maybe some sort of I'm thinking like some sort of warlord, or like knight turned warlord. Probably he was off.
Oh, I like that. Yeah,
he was given some power and a knightly order, of course, to Blackened Tusks. Yeah. Because of some really like the king or leader, the king, queen, emperor, empress, whatever, that gave them like as a gift. For doing some sort of what they think is a heroic thing, but probably it's a, like, knowing villain backstories is probably a terrible thing that they did, you know?
I know, I like that. Like, maybe we say this is like an orc or a half-orc who used to be like the warlord of the tribes from the mountains.
Okay, yeah.
And basically, the emperor or empress, the emp, decided that rather than send soldiers to wage a war in the mountains, which would be costly, and, you know, I would lose a lot of men, and that's going to threaten my power base, I thought it was more sensible to make a deal. Maybe this emp is like sort of a Palpatine figure, where they have kind of dark powers, so it's not clear how they swore the orc to service, but it's obvious that they did. Yeah, that could be kind of cool.
And maybe you can have just a little bit of backstory there, where it turns out that maybe this orc and their, like, you know, their tribes, either like an orcish tribe or just a general nomad tribe of any race, they used to be like mammoth riders, but once this guy was like, no, I was aboard this and I'm going to lead you to better things, like, control my order, I guess. Now you're my guys. So they all they have, like, live a better life, but they get to still probably like fight and maybe do a bit of raiding, but also they have to keep control too. But they do that by I guess by killing in a weird way, because they're baddies.
Yeah, or just like by showing up and like taxing the populace or whatever.
Yeah,
or like
and just being intimidating and being like, that's cool. Yeah, so are all of them the knights? Because I like to think there's of course there wouldn't be too much of them, as you say, but like I like them having a bit of a force though, because I like the idea of like the Lord of the Rings, Oliphant forces, all of them on it, and like
we could make a distinction between the knights who are like, we could say that like the knights who have a mammoth are like proven tusks, and then there are non-proven tusk knights. So we still have a significant force of knights, but we still like there's a limited number of like knights who ride mammoths who kind of act as that power base. So it might be the case that the knight commander is like has the biggest, strongest mammoth, and maybe there are, I don't know, like there could be 13 other proven tusks who each have their own mammoth. There could be slightly more or less, but the idea that there is other knights as well. Again, kind of that stormtrooper vibe where like stormtroopers come out of a Star Destroyer, and a Star Destroyer is a big, dangerous ship.
Yeah.
But also stormtroopers just hang out places. Like they're just soldiers who are there. So like the same notion of you might be in town and there might not be a mammoth like at the outskirts, but there might still be black knights or blackened tusks in town,
just hanging out. Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, I like the idea of the mammoths kind of being almost like a ship where you have like one of the guys, one of the proven tusks is like almost like kind of a captain, so he runs like the place, but they have a bunch of other guys who are kind of controlling it and also there to like some people are steering it and kind of like
there's like a someone who manages it as a steed and someone else who gives the orders, and there's like a quartermaster and maybe like someone who runs like the weapons on the mammoth, like the big ballista and stuff like that.
Because you probably like just having one of them wouldn't be enough, because you'd probably, if you got attacked, then you would you can probably like get the elephant to smash it with its tusks and stuff, or you can like you would have to like run up to the javelins that you have in the back and then throw them down, but you can't do that by yourself, so you need like a crew in inverted commas.
Yes, absolutely.
You need your guys.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do like each one of the villain squad that we're gonna hopefully come up with here having their own version of this. Maybe one or two of them actually have something a bit different than a mammoth. Maybe I like to think maybe one of them has like a rock or something, like a great rock.
Soars
that's
a
good
idea. I mean, I think that's a really cool idea. I think maybe we say like one of them has a rock and another one has like a sea serpent or something.
Ooh, yeah.
Or like a big sea turtle.
Ooh, that's cool.
Like something that lets it be sort of an aquatic power projection, effectively. Like it can patrol the rivers and the bays and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Different mounts, different great mounts. We're kind of doing something different here, but that's the...
Well, no, I mean, I think if we impose some kind of similarity, like the creatures that they ride still have tusks, or that the creatures that they ride were like tamed in extraordinary circumstances, and like it's not common that these creatures exist, but they are kind of part of the present force, and that's a sign about the present force's versatility. Like maybe we have maybe we take some merfolk. Maybe we have a merfolk knight with a sea serpent mount.
Yeah.
That could be cool. I like that idea.
That's very cool.
There's not a lot of stuff done with the merfolk in the monster manual, so that'd be cool. If there was just like sort of one of them, and they were, they effectively like guarded the bays and like, taxed ships and made sure that and ran off smugglers and stuff like that, dealt with pirates, that kind of thing. And so like if the players are this like Robin Hood band of merry thieves and they're like trying to get out of the city on a smuggler's ship, maybe this is the knight that confronts the boat and then they have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and they're like, oh god, this is huge. How do we fight this thing? And while you're on like a dinky little boat, then this thing has a lot more mobility because it's an aquatic animal. So
yeah,
that's like a fun encounter. That's a really iconic one there that you probably hopefully think about. Okay, so we have one knight already. We have a merfolk guy. What's up with him?
So the merfolk is effectively, I think, the merfolk knight is the exiled prince of the merfolk. The merfolk have been subjugated by the evil empire, and he is basically a sign of sort of good faith, but also a tribute to the empire to basically get them to stop if like they were controlled by the empire, and now that they have one of their own as a knight, they have a bit more authority across the empire.
Yes.
Before then, they were under the subjugation of other blackened tusks, and now they have kind of one of their own in charge. But this guy, because he's a former prince, he has a certain expectation about how people should treat him. But now he's not the most important person in the room because there's a knight commander above him and a king or an emperor above them.
Yes.
So he's like chafing under this authority, but he still took an oath and he took it for the good of his people. And he's still doing bad. And let's say maybe the merfolk aren't the best people anyway. But that's a different question, really. So he's kind of frustrated and like probably bad-tempered, but you could probably appeal to their ego if you wanted them to leave you alone.
Yeah.
They might be the one who is most likely to basically give you a quest and let you pass if you ask nicely. But asking nicely involves knowing the correct title for like a merfolk prince and probably needing to speak Aquan,
Yeah.
which your players might not be able to do. And if they can't do that, then they can't do this.
Aquan isn't the first one that you pick when you're picking your languages.
No, it's not.
No, I don't think you can pick it anyway. Anyway, whatever.
I don't know if you can. I know that the
Triton gets it, of course, but
the Triton gets it. I think some of the subclasses get it. I think there's like there's some subclass. I think it's there's like some sorcerer who's tied to the elements or something, and they get Aquan, or they get Primordial, which is like all of them. Like Primordial is like you can speak all the dialects.
okay, cool.
Anyway, doesn't matter. I think that's our Merfolk Knight.
Yeah. Its weapon, maybe seeing as it's a serpent, some sort of poison-tipped trident. I know we kind of just we just go like it's a sea guy, so let's give him a trident. But it's just you gotta have a reason to have a trident, Or
you gotta put tridents in your game,
or a bident if you wish. Because it's a sea serpent, I like the idea.
Dark technology.
Yeah. Because the sea serpent, I like the idea of it being kind of like venomous. Just good to go with that little theme.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I like that. I like the idea of a sort of someone using a trident, and I like the idea that they do have the swords, but they probably favor the trident. Maybe the trident is their ancestral weapon.
Yeah.
So they kind of carry both.
And with that, it's like a little bit of like subtle storytelling, I guess, to show that like he actually preferred, or he still holds his like heritage way more above this new stuff. It's mainly just for his people. And maybe with that, as you said, he can probably give you a quest, or if you maybe beat me in a fight or roll the right dice, then maybe you can get him to help you, stage some sort of coup or like mutiny, I guess. Can you say that for knights, or is that just pirates?
I don't know, actually. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a mutiny.
But just pretty much just portray them, because they already had this back, like they've been wronged before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, trident, poison-tipped, snake stuff.
Yeah. I think the sea serpent should probably like breathe steam.
Ooh,
Which like if it hits you, you make a saving throw, and if you fail, it like blinds you and deals fire damage.
Yeah.
And you're like, water doing fire damage? What the?
Help!
Kaiba.
I don't think Yugi ever said that.
He might have. We don't have the technology to know. Okay, so I like the idea that they have a sea serpent. I think they have a crew of mostly like merfolk, because they are an aquatic group.
Yeah.
But I think they probably have like one or two non-merfolk members. Maybe they are tritons. Although I don't really know what to do with tritons in my game.
Yeah, neither do I. If people want to play them, then sure. But
yeah, man,
where do I put them? Where do they come from?
In the ocean.
In the ocean. Yeah, I guess the ocean is huge. It's like
Yeah, there's loads of room for them.
Yeah,
loads of room for everyone.
Yeah, everyone can under the sea.
Okay, so that's our merfolk. I don't have a good name for the merfolk, other than that they are just like the merfolk heir, and they want the merfolk kingdoms to have their freedom back or something.
Wet Willy. Perfect. Okay, so that's Wet Willy. Next one. Do you want to go with the Master of the Air, the Knight of the Air?
Yeah, sure.
The one on the rock.
What is the Knight of the Air?
Well, first of all, just before I forget, I like the aesthetic choice of this. If you want to go with Black and Tusk, this great rock, because rocks are huge, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I was thinking something way bigger, something that people can actually go on. But I like it having kind of barding on it, and it has like a helmet with like with tusks on it.
Yeah.
Kind of going like, do you remember in Fire Emblem Three
Wind Waker?
Houses
Oh.
with the monsters, and when they are armored, they
Yeah.
have these weird masks. I'm just thinking something like that,
Yeah.
like militarized monsters. But
Yeah,
whatever.
monsters, absolutely.
Yeah, Master of the Air, probably some sort of ranged weapon, maybe some sort of big, some like archers maybe that are on it with like these great bows, and maybe even like a scorpion or something on top. Like
Yeah,
a
that'd be cool.
Big siege
Yeah.
weapon that you can shoot at like boats and stuff, and towns. Shoot at towns.
I think in fairness, at towns, you probably just drop rocks on them or something.
Yes, and they have a few.
Rocks with a K, sorry.
Drop more rocks.
Yeah, I think you have like, I think you have the rock have like a bag of stones that they drop from a great height if they need to.
Mm-hmm.
Scorpion on the back, and then the crew either have bows or maybe crossbows.
Ooh, crossbows, yeah.
Crossbows are always nice. They're a nice evil weapon to give people.
Yeah.
I don't know who this knight on the rock is, though. I'm trying to figure that out. Any ideas?
Maybe a birdman, maybe an Aarakocra or something like that. That's a bit too on the nose too. I feel like we're just going with Breath of the Wild races now and Divine Beast basically from Legend of Zelda.
A little bit, yeah.
But whatever, I'm always thinking about that.
We've already started down this road, man.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then let's just say it's not an Aarakocra. Maybe it's just a man or an elf.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe let's worry less about what specific species they are.
I like the.
How do they get this rock?
I like actually just on the thing of species. I like them being kind of lightweight species. Because you can probably keep
enough.
a bunch of them while the rock is flying around quite a bit. So maybe halflings, maybe goblins, maybe
Goblins would be good.
gnomes, stuff like that. Just smaller, lightweight guys. Goblins is actually a fun idea because they're an evil race naturally, and they're just fun. I love to picture a bunch of
goblins are great, man.
A bunch of goblins on a rock is like hilarious to me. So
I agree.
how do they get this thing? Maybe the Black and Tusks actually just got it. Maybe they were like, maybe at some point they needed a big, like a flying creature to like take a certain fortress or something. So they just sent some guys up to like a mountain and just got it there. Or they were given this information from the kingdom or empire. Say, catch that thing up there. That's a great beast. And maybe the beast is like almost like a mythical beast, like a legendary Pokemon kind of thing, where it's like it shouldn't be tampered with, but these guys have it,
Yeah, that's interesting. I was also thinking we could do that that basically the goblins found it as an egg, and like raised it over the course of like many goblin lifetimes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them were getting ate by it and stuff like that. And eventually they caused enough trouble that like they like got caught by the Black and Tusks, but in the similar vein as the warlord. Rather than just kill them, it was like made more sense to turn them into something for the Empire.
Yeah.
Rather than just sort of execute them or whatever.
Yeah. And maybe it just like a couple of goblins just stole the egg at some point from a nest, and like we got an egg,
exactly.
and then they just like decided maybe we can raise it as like a big symbol or protection thing. So
yeah, I like the idea of the goblins doing that just because they're weird and they don't know what they're doing all the time.
yeah, they don't. They're just goblins. That's cool. And the leader is a leader like a leader like a hobgoblin, maybe just one bigger guy, or a big bugbear, like a big fish in a little pond, or is it like a grizzled old goblin, old snake?
I don't know. One part of me likes the idea of it just being a goblin.
Yeah.
Like a particularly older, experienced goblin. I also like the idea that there isn't a goblin specifically who's the knight, and they just take turns doing it.
Yeah.
Like that, just there's one set of armor, and like when the goblin wearing it dies, someone else puts it on.
Yeah, just like a certain evil-looking helmet that they just keep swapping around, and just like, I am Blackhead, and then they just all say that.
Or we can have just that there is one experienced goblin who like maybe survived raising this thing, or is like the oldest member of the tribe or something. In which case, they will probably use the two scimitars of the Black and Tusks, because I believe goblins already have scimitars in the monster manual.
Yeah, and they're kind of dexterous. They need a finesse weapon. Kind of suits them.
Yeah.
Two scimitars is cool. For just a regular one, I kind of like giving these guys like a signature weapon though. not everyone has
Hand crossbows?
and the crossbows. Yes, I think that's cool.
Oh, no, I said hand crossbows.
Sorry, hand crossbows. That makes sense. Yes, like a cool hand crossbow. 2 of them as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe. I was just thinking in terms of like if they have a hand crossbow, they can hold onto the bird while shooting at you.
And maybe they have like grapples on it as well, so that if they fall off, then they can just grapple back onto the bird and then swinging off them and stuff. Or they kind of have ropes on the birds that they would like hop down.
Yeah, I think it's covered in like ropes and they're all harnessed to it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. But yeah, no. Hand crossbows and scimitars is a fine weapon for gobos. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so these guys are pretty unusual to be part of a knightly order, which is why I think maybe we sort of say that they got, kind of forced into it in some ways. We could do more with that. But I honestly think I like the idea that the goblins like having the power over people and just sort of indulge in it.
Yeah, that's probably it, because they don't really get that a lot. Goblins are always guys who hang out in caves and stuff, but they're like, no, you have power now, and they're just like, shit, yeah, great, let's do this.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if we want to make them kind of more, I also like the notion that maybe they have a nest at the emperor's castle, basically. And so maybe they spend more time there and they're only sent out to specifically look for things.
Yeah.
Because the rock is kind of valuable because it's unique. But yeah, so maybe you're less likely to run into the rock unless you've caused enough trouble that it's being sent after you. I like the idea of the fight with it being really hard because the goblins don't get off the rock and just shoot at you as they fly by, and then maybe try to snag you with grappling hooks and pull you into the air and drop you.
Yeah, and also jetpacks are really expensive as well. So
they're so expensive.
That's the only way you can do the fight properly, if you have a jetpack.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
No, but seriously, that's very cool. Just them not just throwing stuff and shooting stuff from it, and because that's the way, that's how they fight, is just by staying on this bird and using the bird to fight. It just makes them a nuisance. So. But I think your players finding brainstorming and finding a way to beat this thing is would be fun as well. Kind of keep making it, making them just talk about how to fight it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I even like the idea that maybe the players go to do something and as they come out of the dungeon, the bird swoops overhead and starts to attack them.
Yeah.
So they could always retreat back into the dungeon they just left and kind of formulate a plan and then make their moves. So maybe they have that safety, or maybe they're somewhere really perilous, they're on a cliffside when they get attacked and there's a chance they get kicked into the water or whatever.
Yeah.
Which could also be very cool.
Fall down into the river. Snake eater. I don't know where my brain's going these days. I'm just saying things and I'm not even explaining my references.
Yeah, it's great.
This is Stephen Brady's nightmare right now.
Oh, poor man.
Poor man.
Okay, so I think that's our Goblin Knights sorted. I think I'm happy with where they're at. I like everything we did with them.
The Goblin Knights, Masters of the Air. No, I like the idea of the bird just being called the Master of the Air, just because it's a fun little title.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so the Blackened Tusks, the main guy, does he have a couple of underlings? He probably has a couple of dudes he likes just on his own, I guess, not really ship, his own mammoth, his ship,
his own ship, my ship, the mammoth,
the good ship, mammoth.
Yeah, so the sort of the head of the Black Tusks, maybe on their ship they have if we're going to go with this idea that they're this former orc warlord, maybe they have sort of people from that time on the ship. So maybe they have an orcish shaman who has soothsaying powers and can divine the future, basically kind of a their interpretation of a cleric, who has some abilities, and then probably they also have I can't remember the name of them. There's these orcs that ride giant bats, and maybe the main guy has a nest of giant bats on his mammoth.
Are the orcs that ride giant bats already a thing, or
They're in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, or no, they're in Volo's. I don't remember what. They're in one of the books. I can't remember.
I don't think I saw them in Volo's, but maybe not.
Okay, maybe they're not.
Knows?
Yeah,
that's a very weirdly specific thing, but it's cool. It's a cool image.
Yeah, like I was only thinking because it's a cool image.
I like the idea of those bats just hanging on to the mammoth when it's walking.
Yeah.
Kind of
On like a big roost.
Yeah, just upside down on its belly or something. That's cool. And then the orcs kind of hop down, just like fly the bats into battle.
And they probably also use those bats to communicate between the mammoths as well.
Yes.
If they have orders for someone or something like that. What else do they use? Let's see. The mammoths have siege weapons on them. They probably host like maybe 20 or so soldiers or something like that, maybe a little less. What else can they do? What else can the mammoths do? Okay, let me think. What else can the mammoths do? I can't think of anything. I feel like we give the mammoths armor like we gave the rock. I think giving all the different great beasts armor is cool. So the mammoths all have like armor plating, and they have weapons on top of them, and they have a crew, and they have a nest of bats.
I like them just being kind of the regular old bog standard like of the Black and Tusk, just the masters of the ground who are strong, they're tough, resilient, they're good siege and transport weapons, but they're just they're not the specialized ones like the ones that fly and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, what does our leader fight with alongside the two scimitars? Do you think he has a different weapon, or they have a different weapon?
I think he actually has the two scimitars, but they are magic in some way.
Cool.
Maybe some sort of magical. Maybe something goes into his warlord powers. I guess something that can kind of like maybe amplify his voice when he holds it, or something. Where he's yelling orders, and basically, I'm thinking like mechanics here, where it would like give him like a command spell or something like that. And maybe they like just have fire damage too. I guess like a black flame. That would be kind of a fun imagery.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I also like the idea when people have two weapons of them having Frostbrand and Flame Tongue, just like ice weapon and a fire weapon. But yeah, like two scimitars but magical.
Well, on the notion of him being a warlord, they could they could amplify his voice, and so he could basically do like Thunder Wave or Shatter.
Yeah.
If you wanted to talk in terms of spells, you could also have him. You could also have him kind of fight. You could base it on the fact that he's fighting with two weapons, and kind of give him features like. Maybe it's harder to disarm him, or it's harder to get opportunity attacks because like he's always like this, he's this furious dervish in battle. Like he's got two weapons, he's always swinging out. Yeah. Maybe give him like spinning leopard kick. Because that's a wicked power, man. Spinning leopard kick is a 4th edition monk power where you move up to your speed and then you make one melee attack against every creature you pass. So that could be a pretty cool like special technique that the warlord has access to.
It's just Chun-Li's spinning bird kick that, where she's upside down, spins, and then just flies in the air. He just does that. So he's a master of kung fu and two swords.
Yeah, and two swords.
While you're dating girls, I mastered the sword. That's cool, yeah.
And kung fu.
And kung fu, apparently. No, but giving him kind of like abilities like that kind of show like, oh crap, he's not just a fighter, he's a monk as well.
Or he's just got like martial prowess. Like you don't have to call it spinning leopard kick.
No.
Like it doesn't have to be a kick.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining basically him doing a big spin attack with his arms out, like at the two swords. With their arms.
I could spin my arms around, and then if you get in the way, it's your own fault.
Your own fault.
No, but again, that'll be fun. Like just build these techniques like that to make them just seem like oh, this guy's for real.
Or if you want to give them another kind of power entirely, or you could do this with all the scimitars. When I said before that they could be thrown weapons, maybe after you throw them, you can teleport to the person you hit.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
That could be kind of cool and scary, just like that they jump at you.
Well, if everyone has that, then that'll be kind of fun. Maybe he has maybe also he can use that like a boomerang. Maybe he kind of puts the two swords together and then just throws them, and then like it swings around like a boomerang and comes back. Which you laugh, but it's cool, all right?
I know it is. It's just I'm just imagining describing it to the players, and they're like, "What's happening?" Like I thought we were fighting like a knight, and now he's throwing boomerangs at us. I'm so confused.
Yeah, this guy's a knight. These guys are knights. Let's make sure we put down knightly order in in inverted commas on the website.
Inverted commas, yeah, Jesus.
Nicely
right, yeah.
ordered. Asterisk.
It's not real.
Yeah.
There's no actual knights.
Yeah. So, I think him having the standard scimitars. I probably wouldn't give the teleportation to everyone, but maybe like the elite, like maybe.
I'm thinking it's just a thing his scimitars do.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking they're his special weapons, like they're twin scimitars called like the King's Grasp.
Yeah.
And so like whenever he hits you, or like with the Emperor's Grasp, I guess, or the Empress's Grasp, whenever they hit you, it's like they also get to teleport to you. And it's obviously only valuable because you can throw them as well. But it's still kind of weird and interesting.
I like the way he can use it for like a transportation, like in Final Fantasy 15. You can do that with your sword where you throw it and you can teleport. But there's a way where you can throw it at like a surface and the sword sticks and you just teleport and you're hanging off the edge. He can probably do that to like go from mammoth to mammoth or something. Like a height, like a
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Or like to get to the top of somewhere, he just like throws it up there and just like teleports up to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And you can do a big plunging attack.
Plunging attack too, yeah, from the sky.
Obviously, yeah.
And then you're like, I already saw that coming, and then you just step out of the way. Nothing personal, kid. Yeah. So the Emperor's Grasp, is that what you call it? That's a cool name.
Yeah.
Emperor's Grasp. That's his scimitars. They're cool. They're +1 too.
Yeah, sure, man. So what other members of the Knights do we want to describe? What else do we want to do?
I would like to, because we have some time to do a couple more guys. So I like maybe his like left and right hand like guys. You know, the guys that he has on his place, but are also like the elite guys that you would fight. You know, in the same encounter. You know.
Right. Okay. So these guys, these two knights, are both part of the Knight Commander's crew.
Yeah.
Basically. So you wouldn't fight them alone or on their own mammoths. You'd fight them on their on the warlord's mammoth.
Yes.
Well, the warlord is a melee person who fights with two swords, and is able to get up close to hit you with the swords, and maybe has spinning leopard kick.
Yes.
But that is to be confirmed. But anyway, they're like a melee powerhouse. That's what they do.
Yes.
So probably what they need in terms of battle is like someone to help them. Like a support and probably like a ranged character. So I'm thinking in terms of their left and right hands. We have that Orcish shaman who maybe casts haste on the warlord.
Yeah.
Help them move faster, give them a bonus to AC and all that cool stuff.
I was also thinking like some sort of Orcish like tribal bard where he's kind of like he has like a big war drum. And he can do like thunderous spells, like he can kind of like do like a thunder strike by hitting it in a certain way, and also he does like bard spells that can possibly buff and heal as well. And he could use it if he's like big, he can probably use the drum to attack you or hit you with the mallet for the drum as a weapon.
Yeah, I like that.
So kind of like a fight bard in a way.
Yeah. An Orcish fight bard. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then maybe like so if we want to say like an Orcish fight bard and
TM.
Maybe TM. And maybe some kind of archer. Just in terms of doing something that no one else is doing. Maybe they have a crossbow like the goblins, or maybe they just have a longbow.
I think keeping crossbows for goblins, and then this guy just to show has a bit more technique to him than a big longbow.
Technique.
It's cool. Technique.
So, okay, who is this person and why do they have a longbow? What do you think?
It's easy enough to go with a ranger, right? Kind of someone probably who used to also be in part of another tribe, and who was, I don't know why he'd be by himself though, but he would.
Well, no, that's an interesting idea. Is it are we establishing that there were more than one? There was multiple orc tribes in the mountains.
Yeah.
And one tribe got kind of favored by the empire and got to found the Blackened Tusks, and maybe the other tribe was destroyed, and this is the last sort of member of that tribe.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And maybe they're kind of like almost like a tribe, but kind of like rangers too, protectors of the area, in a way, or like protectors in inverted commas, where they. And this guy's like he is like to give it a class, I would say ranger or druid, kind of that kind of idea where you can do range attacks, and he cares for the forest. But the tradition of his race, I guess, or of his people, is that they use a longbow, and they have that ranger abilities, I guess. Maybe the longbow is like a passed down ancestry weapon, you know?
Yeah. I like the idea that this ranger is maybe the like mammoth keeper.
Okay.
And like they're the one who looks after the animal, because that sort of makes sense. Gives them a role in the organization.
Yeah.
Explains their like less knightly bearing, that they might be kind of part of an older tribe or a different tribe, and they're here because of their expertise with the animal.
Maybe
as opposed to their loyalty or anything.
Maybe they're the reason why they got the mammoths in the first place and the animals in the first place. Maybe they, with their expertise and their knowledge, they helped everyone weaponize them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe. Just a big maybe.
Maybe.
You have to find out. You have to ask the
Who
GM.
can say? You have to find out in your own time.
That's cool. Yeah. What can his bow do? Anything special with his bow?
I like the idea that if they're fighting with their mammoth, the bow like acts as a highlighter and allows the mammoth to attack that person more easily.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's kind of it's like a team weapon. So like you get hit with the bow, then the next time the mammoth attacks you, they have advantage. And they'll like favor attacking you over other people, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like you get shot with an arrow and maybe like a flare comes out of the arrow, and then it's trained to like hit that flare, you know? Like kind of like a small burst of light, and they're like, hit it, and then its trunk comes down, smacks you in the ground.
Yeah.
Or just to be simple, just a magical like ball of light just comes out as well.
Yeah. Any of those are fun. Like I think it's really more about like the, you know, what happens when it happens.
Absolutely,
basically.
Yeah. And you can probably
I think it could be flare, it could be pheromones, it could be like loads of different stuff.
Yeah. And maybe you can just say it helps people like originally players might think it's just there for like kind of like a marking thing, or to like an aid action for other people to attack. But once they find out that like the mammoth can attack better, like it gets advantage on the attack, then they're like, oh crap, they're training this thing, not the other guys, you know. But maybe the other guys can use it, you know. It kind of like whoever gets hit by this like gets advantage on the attack against them, you know.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's kind of like a mini fairy fire in that way.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
And then I think they also have like ranger traps and stuff like that. Like they can set up like tripwires and bear traps that you step on, and then you're like,
prank hole.
I like that a lot.
And they fall in. You get pants.
They throw caltrop.
Throw those caltrops. They have a bag of caltrops that they bought at the start of the game,
and they use them
for like no one ever does. Okay, cool. I like that. Anything else on these guys? Any final comments on the Blackened Tusks?
Why don't we talk a little about their like default ability set? Because we kind of did some specialists, but we have to assume there's other guys on mammoths going around.
Okay, yeah.
So why don't we just do a little bit of like ecology about like how they work?
Yeah. So okay, first of all, I think just mechanics wise, or just stat blocks wise, there's probably like Blackened Tusk, like I guess goon, like grunt, I guess, where they're just dudes, like pretty like good soldiers with two scimitars.
Yeah, but they're not knights. They're just soldiers.
Yeah, they're just soldiers who are taught like they know how to fight in the right way. So they're the grunts, and then there's like the Blackened Tusk knight who fight with the two scimitars, and they have like anti-paladin spells, but like certain kinds of spells, stuff to do with control, maybe stuff. Is there like certain spells that
hold person, stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly like that. Hold person. They have a couple spells like that, and. I was thinking something there. I forgot. Like a whole person, and maybe like a zone of like, not truth, like but an attack. I'm thinking maybe like a wall of fire, actually. But maybe that's a bit too high level for these guys.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But something like that.
Oh well, maybe if they can only do it like once a day or something. I mean, like in terms of enemy spell casting, you can always think of it in terms of like they don't necessarily have to cast lots of spells. Like if they have a very small number of very weird, interesting spells, like if they have Hold Person and Wall of Fire and all these like arena affecting spells, it'll probably be more interesting than if they just have loads of like, I'm gonna smite you and here it comes and
I get you. Lots of what's the School of Magic like that, where it's more about controlling. Well, in 4th edition it would be a controller, I guess, but that's not really a thing in 5th edition.
It's I think Wall of Fire's Conjuration, I assume. Might be Evocation.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. They have a couple of spells, and then they mostly rely on their 2 scimitars, and they have backup. And because they are knights, they don't use ranged combat, but the soldiers that follow them can use bows, crossbows, that kind of thing. And they probably rely on them in many ways. Because the mammoth is a big animal, it has to eat a lot, so they have to stop in villages and eat loads of their food a lot of the time. And when they do that, the Blackened Tusk probably announces themselves to the local lord, and then kind of just like kicks about the place and causes trouble.
Just like puts their feet on the table, on the couch, kind of stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Probably some of the mammoth camps carry spies, because it is a very secure place for a spy to be. So they probably rely on that as a way of gathering information. It might well be the case that the very like sort of public face of the Blackened Tusks is actually just a way to draw attention, so that like when the mammoth arrives, it's carrying a spy as well, and the spy can just slip in unannounced and like learn, you know, what's going on. Is there any rebels? Is the local lord thinking of causing trouble or hoarding wealth for themselves, etc., etc.?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and they have that. Above the knights would be, how did you put it? Like a ones where they're knights, but these guys are
like a proven tusk, like where they have their own mammoths.
So I think next are the proven tusks. These guys like have their own, probably smaller than the other, like the big mammoth, but still like, you know, still can hold like a crew on top of it, you know. But
a force of dudes.
So these guys are a bit stronger. They probably have a lot of spells on them. Maybe they have a magical weapon, but they all have a standardized kind of ability to it. Like maybe it's just like a thrown weapon that they can call back to them. Really, maybe they're kind of eldritch knights in a way, you know.
That could be cool.
And that's kind of the extent of their magical weaponness. Instead of teleporting to it, they can just get it, call it back to
pull it to themselves.
And they have a lot more spells. But these guys are like the head honchos of their own little thing.
Yeah, and they're probably bad enough, dude, that they like emanate, you know, bad juju and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like them hanging out somewhere long enough is enough to like start to corrupt the land and stuff like that.
That's a fun little like regional effect, I guess. Yeah. Ooh, actually, with the mammoths, you can do a lot of cool lair actions. I say if you're fighting on it, that'll be fun.
I
just think of a lair action like an elephant just like grabs one of your guys, grabs like a random person with its trunk and just tosses them off, and then like you're like, what? Shit.
Wait, what?
So I guess
no, put me back in.
So maybe you have to like do like a quick, like a very like an easy check to just roll out of the way, and then here it comes.
Dex save, or you have to get back on the boat.
Or you're like thrown into the whatever. But
land on the snow, you take less damage, but you know it's embarrassing.
You're a hero, so you can just, you don't need, it's just like a few bits of damage. And then after that are the right and left and right hand man, I'd say, of the leader of the warlord. And what is the title of the? It's like the Blackened Tusk warlord, or the Tusk Lord.
Could be the Tusk Lord. Could be like the Master of Mammoths. Could be like Grip of the Empire or something like that. But that's kind of similar to the weapons. Could be
Tusk of the Empire.
It might just be like War Master.
Yeah,
I think something like that would be kind of cool. Just like, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the Blackened Tusk specifically, but it's like you're the most senior knight in the Empire, so you're just called like the War Master.
Yeah. So then you got the War Master, and then like right underneath the like, because one of the proven, because like the Masters of the Air, I guess, or whatever goblin is wearing the helmet of the Master on the thing, and the Triton, not the Merfolk guy, or it could be a Triton if you want, as well. But the Merfolk guy, they are proven tusks, but they're specialized.
Yes.
So that's why they're given kind of a different thing. They're just kind of just to make the encounters with these guys not all be samey and have like a different little thing in there. But they are proven tusks. So that's kind of that's what they are in the ranking. And if you want to add more fun, specialized guys to yourself, but we can't really do that right now, then making them a proven tusk is the nice ranking to do that. So
I mean, yeah, like an obvious thing to do would be like just give them more animals. Like, what if they had like wolf mounts alongside the mammoth?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to kind of impose that art, like, what if you use winter wolves? You know?
yeah.
They'd be cool. There's like a bunch of stuff you could do. You could also like have, you could have like one of the guys, their mammoth is like undead and they crawl around inside its bones and the base is bigger than ever, and also like the mammoth is really hard to kill because it's already dead.
It's already dead. That's freaky. That's cool. Maybe you got like I'm just thinking of Zelda again, like a lizard, like a salamander climbing on the side of a mountain.
Yeah,
I'm taking different.
That's cool. I like
I'm
that
taking
a lot.
different kinds of speeds because we have swimming speed, we have flying speed, and we need climbing speed now. So
yeah, correct. Yeah,
or
that's
burrowing
fair.
speed, maybe like a big mole as well. That you just
Big mole, big dire mole.
dire mole.
Probably a land shark in fairness.
Yes, actually, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Or a bullet.
A large bullet, a big dog, golden retriever. It's a happy looking golden retriever.
No.
You'll never stay in one place though. Like, just be running around.
They eat everything,
Yeah.
and then they feel really sick. And you're like, you shouldn't have eaten everything. And they're like, I can't help it.
Yes. Sorry, I was just trying to see if my dog was around so I can put him on blast on the podcast. He would like that. Just like you, dog.
Hold on, everyone. I'm just going to go dunk on my real life dog.
He's a great dog. But anyway, that's cool. Actually, this actually turned out a lot cooler than I thought it would. I quite like this idea, especially just the idea of the flavor idea of these mammoths and the like everyone on them. Out of all of them, I really want to do the goblin on the rock, the goblins on the rock encounter. I just think that's a fun little bit of imagery. Just seems chaotic. I quite like that.
I really like the idea of a game where you have to sneak onto the mammoth to steal something valuable without getting caught.
That's very cool.
And it's like a really confined space, and like it's like a proper stealth mission. You have to like knock out someone else and steal their uniform so that you blend in.
Yeah, and like to get on, you literally just have to like try and sneak up to the mammoth, or and like climb on to get up there, and then then you have to do like a stealth mission in there. It's just like an impossible task almost.
Yeah, like you have the cleric or the druid make like a fog cloud.
Yeah.
So that you can sneak onto it, and then you're like having to go through this like incredibly confined space. I think that'd be great.
That's cool. That's very cool. And then you have to get off without anyone knowing.
Yeah, and then of course, if it goes wrong, you can just dive off the side of the mammoth, take a bit of fall damage, and run. Like,
and then run. Get out of here.
And then they come after you with their big bats, and you're like, oh, jeez.
Got bats now?
They got bats?
God dang. Gosh dang it.
Heck.
Bats.
Oh, heck. It's a trooper super.
Oh, heck, it's a super.
Oh, I love that line so much. The idea that the clones like are programmed not to kill.
Oh.
So they want to say like, oh fuck, but they're like, oh heck, it's a super.
Yeah, what's the origin of that line? Is that
It's from Battlefront 2, isn't it?
Yeah, we're the original Battlefront 2. We're playing it. I think Tim heard. He thought he heard one of the clones, like in one of their dialogues, just say, "Oh heck, it's a super."
Yeah,
and that we just.
Oh heck, it's a super. I can't remember what they actually said, but it doesn't matter. I prefer the idea that they just say, "Oh heck, it's a super." Yeah. Watch those wrist rockets. Oh heck,
just like the simulations.
Just like the simulations.
Just like back in the Academy. Academy Pilot is my favorite Star Wars character. He took on Han Solo himself.
He did. I prefer Muller Mythil.
Weird cryptic references that people won't get.
Or Dark Curse.
Dark Curse and Black Knight. Was that one of them?
Yeah, man. Sure. One of them, probably.
Yeah. No, we're talking about like the TIE fighter pilots in the X-Wing miniatures game right now, and people don't know, but they just have like edgy names and they just sound very funny. It's like my first characters that I would make myself, when I was 14 years old.
It's just surprising because like they're adults.
Yeah, adults, right? Perfect. Yeah. Shall we end it there, Dan?
Have a mammoth that like launches TIE fighters if you attack it. That's it. I'm done. You have to pull over.
Yeah. I'm done. Okay. Are you done, Daniel? Any more quips?
No, I am done. I'm glad we got this done before my throat got so bad I couldn't talk anymore.
Excellent. Daniel was saying that if he talked anymore, then he might stop talking for life.
Forever.
Forever.
I'm gonna sound like Jonathan at the end of his wedding day.
Yeah.
My best Tom Waits impression.
Yeah, start of the day, he's like, "Hey guys, I'm so happy I'm looking forward to getting married. It's gonna be a great day." And at the end of the day, he's like, Like a fucking Graveler. Yeah, like a Graveler, like the Pokemon Graveler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Pokemon Graveler.
Yeah, that's what
Famously
he talks
married Pokemon Graveler.
like. Famously. And who talks like Tom Waits.
He talks like Tom Waits, obviously, because he's made of gravel.
Well, Dan, we shall stop talking for you, and I can end
Thank
this.
you.
I'll end this out for both of us. So, folks, thank you so much for listening to Villain Squad. This has been our Blackened Tusks episode. This has been the Nightly Order episode about the Blackened Tusk. Sorry, I got that mixed up there. And if you liked what you listened to it, please consider subscribing to our podcast on whatever podcast app you use. And if you have already, well, thank you so much. Maybe consider leaving us a review on your app if it's there. That helps us out. Helps us out quite a lot. So, and if you've done all that, then thank you so much. That's been a great Christmas present. Maybe tell your friends about us too. But that's a lot of call to actions right now, so I'll stop right now. We have a website, www.creatureclubpodcast.com. Do we have a www on that? Is that?
Yeah, I believe so.
I do all websites do?
I believe if you put that in, you'll end up on our website.
HTTP.
Yeah. HTTPS colon / www.
www. creatureclubpodcast.com. Go on the website and you can find our episodes there. You can find a contact us form where you can send us, nice stuff. But mainly we are looking for homebrew items and items. Yes, homebrew items, I guess, but homebrew like monsters mainly. That's kind of our main thing because we're a monster show. We are looking for monsters because we plan to do a homebrew episode real soon. So if you want it on the show, maybe now's the time for you to send it in. But don't do what you want. But it's coming soon, guys. I want to make sure it's out soon. And yeah, or if you prefer, creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. Is it creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com? Is that right, Dan?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. You can send it straight there if you so prefer. And if you are on Twitter, then follow us on Twitter @creatureclubpod. And we're there. And talk to us and let us know if you like the show or not, because we're on Twitter quite a bit. And that is it. That has been the show. Daniel, any closing thoughts for us?
One of the knights should have a spell that summons his mammoth through a big portal in the ground.
That's actually very cool. I was thinking about just like a funny quip at the end, but that's just a cool idea.
Butts to 2019. It fucking sucked. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. Give your knights a portal for mammoths. See you next year or next decade.
Wait.
I know. Very good joke. And thank you so much for listening, guys. Hope you had a good holidays and Happy New Year. I have been Mikey.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool.